Yeah, Matt. Yeah, I know about dry cleaning.
This shit's about to go so fucking hard.
The emphasis you put on it makes it. Keep going. What about dry cleaning?
What if there was a guy who got who only dry cleaned everything and got really offended and called you gross and said, "Why do you have wet cleaning about your laundry machine?"
Here's the reason why I love Matthew is because his brain, there was the obvious joke he could have just rolled with, but instead he created a whole guy. He created a whole other guy.
Jake, let me stop you. Jake, let me stop you. Here's why I love Matthew. Yeah. Because he realized it was weird that he got all his clothes dry cleaned. Yeah. And he had to pretend it was a character.
Yeah. Yeah. Why you guys why are you so obsessed with wet cleaning, you fucking
I don't do wet cleaning. I do dry cleaning and dry dirtying. I do dirty my stuff dry.
I do animal style. Ooh. I lick my clothes clean with my tongue.
I thought you were talking about In-N-Out. Not sponsored.
Never sponsored by In-N-Out, I think.
Anyway, probably won't be.
Say that
probably
in
won't be.
5 years. Give us 5 years. We'll be sponsored by In-N-Out. Remember these words.
Hello and welcome back. We're the Tough Cut Podcast. And I'm Matthew.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jakers.
And this is episode 111, part 1.
111.
We're going to have to start shorthanding these somehow.
It's going to be, guys, it's going to be another 111 episodes before we get to 222. This is never going to happen. Like, it's crazy. We're 1,000 episodes away from.
It took us 3 years to get to 111.
Yeah, about that.
That's crazy. We're 1,000 episodes away. 3 years for 100 episodes. So what's 3 times 9? That's crazy.
So we're a long ways away. We're gonna be like what? We're gonna be in our mid-20s by the time that comes out. So that's
for real.
Matt's gonna do wet cleaning by then.
No, never. Only wet dirtying.
Yes. Wet dirtying is probably the preferred out of all of those.
That sounds like a really sad way to talk about diarrhea. I just wet dirtied my toilet.
Anyway, this is part 1 of our vacation bracket. So the Tough Cut is on vacation.
Couldn't you tell? Audience, that this was our vacation bracket?
We're cutting a little loose. Couldn't you tell?
Yeah. This is us on vacation because content never takes breaks. And coming at you in today's episode, we've got some fun ones. We've got Hot Tub Time Machine versus Forgetting Sarah Marshall. And then in the back half, we've got Cheaper by the Dozen 2 versus Tu Mama Tambien. Which is a wild matchup.
Matchup of the fucking century.
Also, it's the first episode of the bracket. What the hell do we do here, Alex?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is the vacation bracket. This is one of the more straightforward ones. These are movies about vacations.
Yeah, thanks. What's the best vacation put on screen? And you know what? These movies, they are like the M. Night Shyamalan of vacation movies. So if you don't want these spoiled for you, spoiler warning right now.
Much like Old, my favorite vacation movie.
It was so close to being. I had a shitpost list of vacation movies that I could have picked.
I can't believe neither of you picked Old.
I can believe
I was like, this is my moment. This is my chance to see Old. And I got
we should just do a straight up M. Night Shyamalan
I'm not going to. Wow.
An M. Night bracket is such a good idea. Yeah. You can talk about the classic M. Night twist, how well it's incorporated. Oh my God.
How good is the twist in this movie? That could be fun.
Turns out they're different old people.
Turns out the movie's bad and they're white. It's talking about Avatar. Anyway.
Yeah, so fun. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Anything else we want to call out up top here, or shall we get right into it?
You're really cute.
Thank you.
You are really cute.
Call that out.
We have been saying this for years now.
Many people are saying this.
Almost a decade. I've been calling you cute.
Almost.
Right?
Thank you.
Wow. That's crazy.
I can't wait till we've been friends for a decade. I think one of us has to kill the other with a sword.
I was going to say one of us had to enter each other, but like that does count.
It's the same idea.
It's the same idea.
gonna be a crazy
We both
night.
thought penetrate is the word, but
It's the word
I guess
of the day.
that's the theme of your relationship is penetration.
penetrate. Yeah.
Penetrate is the word of the day.
Great.
And with that word of the day, Alex, you want to go ahead and introduce Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
That's a pretty good. Yeah.
Know that I do.
There's a lot of sex in all these. Except for Two Bread the Day. Well, actually.
well. How do you think they got to a dozen, baby?
That is actively a point in the first movie. Forgetting Sarah Marshall, released in 2008, directed by Nicholas Stoller. This movie is about a musician. He's the boyfriend of TV superstar and crime drama actor Sarah Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
He does the music for that show, and so it's super awkward when she breaks up with him, and he can't get over it, and he's gotta go to Hawaii, get away. But she's there with her. She's there with her new boyfriend, or spoilers, not new boyfriend, because they've been blinking for a year. And the hostess at the hotel is trying to cheer him up, and then they start dating, and then he cheats on her with Sarah, and then they break up, and he goes back home and gets his life together, and then she shows up at the end, and it's like, hey, now that you've like got your shit together and you're like figured your stuff out, like what if we like gave this another shot, and then the movie ends. I picked this movie because I've always really enjoyed it. I think Jason Segel is really charming in it. He is very relatable in like a sad boy kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
I think this movie does not. It makes you like Jason Segel's character, but it doesn't shy away from showing you like the like perspective that he has is problematic and not good. It like doesn't shy away from like showing you that like this person has their issues and there's a reason that Sarah Marshall broke up with him, and I appreciate that this movie doesn't shy away from that. I also think it's pretty dang funny. I think Jason Segel has a good time. I think it's fun to be in Hawaii. It does a good job of showing that vacation stuff. I think it doesn't try to be like, hey, all these white people working in this hotel are from Hawaii. It doesn't, whitewash Hawaii. It has like native Hawaiians in it. And I appreciate that too. What do you guys think of this movie? We'll start with Matthew.
Yeah, so this is a movie I have seen bits and pieces of, but never seen the whole thing.
You never saw it?
Whoa. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I was very young when I saw bits and pieces of it. And I got to see bits and pieces of Jason.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to see bits and pieces. Yeah, that's really funny.
Did you guys watch the like unrated version or the regular version?
Unrated, come on.
I think the unrated version, because there was a lot.
Yeah, if you saw Jason Segel's dong, then you saw the unrated
quite
version.
A few times.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
So it was
not
like
a vacation if you don't see Jason Segel's dog.
He needs to stop. This is a cry for help. Stop showing me your dick and balls on my vacations, Jason.
Well, now you
keep finding me.
You know what I'll say about that though is that they show Mila Kunis's boobs, so it's like it almost validates that in a way of like it's not going to be shitty that we show her boobs because you're going to see Jason Segel's dick and balls.
I appreciate
equal
the parody.
Opportunity.
Exactly. Not
equal
parody. Anyway, so finally getting to see this movie in its entirety, I liked it a lot.
Nice.
I thought it was pretty funny. I assume that Jason Segel getting to write it in whatever put his puppet fixation in it, and this helped him get the Muppets for later, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It did. This is actually a real thing that I was going to bring up. This got him the Muppet job, but by all means, continue.
Are the puppets in this movie Muppets? Were they made by the Hensons?
No, I think this was Jason Segel. I think this was
like
just
he made
him.
them?
He's a big fan, dude.
That's fucking
rocks.
wild. Anyway.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I was shocked by how much I enjoyed this movie. I was like, wow, I'm like kind of digging it.
Nice.
What about
that
you,
makes
Jake?
me very happy.
Yeah, I mean, look, this movie had Jason Segel in it. He's in the Muppet Hall of Fame. So it's very hard to not separate that. it's a fun time. It really is a fun time. This is back when Russell Brand wasn't like an awful person that we know now. So like I thought his shit was funny before. Like Inside of You is a hilarious song. It really like sorry, it's fucking hilarious to me. And yeah, the fact that Jason Segel, like, it wasn't the only reason, obviously, he got the Muppet gig, but, like, they saw that he could, like, sing and that he was charming and do all this stuff. And then Jason Segel was like, I would, like, literally do anything. I will end my career to star in a Muppet movie. And they're like, okay, dude, you have it. Like, it's fine. Like, he was anything, like, too intense about it. It's fun. It's just a fun one of those 2000s, close to the 2010 comedies that they were cranking them out then, and I think this one's a good one. It spawned a weird sequel, but
Get Him to the Greek.
Get Him to the Greek. But, you know,
is this a sequel to Get Him to the Greek? Is it the same character?
Yeah.
Russell Brand is the only one who carries over.
And Jonah Hill. Because isn't that it's centrally about Jonah Hill's Hill's relationship?
I just always forget Jonah Hill's and forgetting Sarah Marshall. But
I actually have never seen Get Him to the Greek. I did not know that it was the same character.
It's the same characters. Yeah, they did. Like they did that thing that a lot of 2000 comedies were doing. Like Knocked Up. There was also This Is 40. But it's not like an actual sequel, but it just follows Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann, who were friends of the people. Not like like it was like one of those like
takes one of the like somewhat. Yeah, takes one of the characters and runs away with it. Wow. With your comment, Jake, this is such a like late 2000s
100%
movie.
Yeah,
like 100%. Oh my god,
it is.
It just like the movie that this is up against.
Yes.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce Hot Tub Time Machine?
I would love to. I felt like something inside of me like churned when we said vacation movies, and the first thing I genuinely thought of was like, oh my god, this is so inspired. Hot Tub Time Machine. I look, Hot Tub Time Machine came out in 2010, directed by Steve Pink. Box office was 64.6 million. Distributed by MGM, 20th Century Studios.
What is happening?
It was edited by George Folsey Jr. and James Thomas, and music was by Christoph Peck. This movie, it's about four, pals. They're stuck in. They're basically having
three pals and a nephew.
3 pals and a nephew, right? They're stuck in this not childhood, like adulthood, like midlife crisis, basically. And John Cusack, who's in this movie, has just been dumped, and Rob Kadri Lou is a party animal, and Craig Robinson is just this husband, and the nephew just plays video games in his basement. But all of a sudden, they all want to change their future because a heavy drinking in a ski resort hot tub results in them waking up in 1986 on a fateful day. Hilarious premise. I'm sorry, but this is like inspired. This movie stuck in my head so much just because like it's sci-fi. Like it's a sci-fi movie. It's about time travel, but it's so funny because it's so nonsensical and such a fun. I just remember having fond memories of like, again, a late 2000s, but an interesting premise along with it. Like I like this movie. I like Role Models was another one that's like fits the bill.
Holy shit.
You remember that movie? Sean William Scott, Paul Rudd. Yeah. Shit like that. I just think it's fun. And I'm not biased because I worked with Craig. They're just fun people. Craig is literally just his kid. He doesn't act in this movie.
Honestly, that does not surprise me by his performance.
It's just one of those comedies that was just like four people that I would not imagine being put in a room together, and then they're put in a room together, and then here we are. We have a vacation movie that is all over the place. Lizzie Kaplan, which I love Lizzie Kaplan. Like all these different things. It's great. Obviously, it's a comedy that was older, so like it has its aging stuff, but so does Forgetting Sarah Marshall. So I think it's good that these two are against each other for like the spirit of the times, because I feel like vacation movies were very much like this energy. And I think it's very exciting. So I would love to hear what Alex thinks of this movie first.
Yeah. I have a good time with this movie. I've seen it once before. I liked it then. I think it surprisingly does time travel really well in the fact that like it just kind of tells the characters like, hey, these might be the rules, and then the characters make a whole bunch of assumptions, and then it like doesn't really get into it. And I think that's really great because a lot of time travel things try and like nail down the rules and they contradict themselves, and this movie doesn't do that because it doesn't set hard rules. Yeah, I have a pretty good time with it. I think like a lot of it is like very straightforward. I think the performances are I think, like you mentioned, Craig Robinson is so down to earth because he's just like a normal person. Like he's not putting on a performance. I have a good time with this movie. Yeah. Matt, how about you?
This is like primer for people that had friends in high school.
What an endorsement for this movie.
It's a very deep cut time travel movie reference. So anyway, I had never seen this movie before.
Hell yeah, that's my dream. This is why I do the podcast.
Watching this movie as an adult was for the first time was fucking mind melting, dude. It is like obviously like I've you get the premise from the title. It's hard not to get the premise.
And also when Craig Robinson says it to the camera.
But like sitting down and just kind of like accepting that this is what you're going to be watching for the next like hour and 20 minutes or whatever. And it just being like, yeah, they get in a hot tub and it's a time machine. I'm like, oh, that's really it. Yeah. That's the point.
Yeah.
With that said, it is like this movie bleeds the like late 2000s, early 2010s comedy. Like the role models comparison, I think, is very apt. I think like Drillbit Taylor's up in there. Like there's lots of movies from the same era that I think if you go back and rewatch, it's like it's the same shit, dude. Like in terms of like emotive state, I guess, not literally. Yeah, I generally had a pretty fun time with it. Man, is it a dumb movie though?
It's so dumb, but It's dumb, but I love it.
It's dumb, and it that's all it wants to be, which is really refreshing. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is like, look, sometimes you watch comedies nowadays, and it's just like, oh god, like what's happening? And that's why I'm making. So this isn't a plug by any means, but Jennifer Lawrence's new movie, No Hard Feelings, I'm excited for it. Because it seems so stupid and so much to a return to that form. Like, what is this premise? What is going on? It's hilarious.
It's like a truly so irreverent comedy where it's like, I'm gonna wear the dumb shit on my sleeve.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So
love it.
Comparing these movies.
Yeah.
Wow. Where to begin? I guess at surface level or at the highest level, they're both, as we've said, like that late 2000s, early 2010s comedies. How do we think they do their comedy?
I think they're very different in the way that they approach comedy. I think that both of these movies have their very dumb jokes, but I think Sarah Marshall has a lot of subtle comedy that I really appreciate. Like, I think there are funny, subtle moments that aren't just like throwing a joke in your face. That said, I think the jokes that Hot Tub Time Machine throws in your face are, for the most part, pretty funny. Like the one guy being like, "I'm your fucking dad," at the end. Like, it's great. It's so funny. Yeah, I don't know. I it's hard for me to say which I like more in that sense. Like, I appreciate, I think, a lot of the humor in Sarah Marshall. Like, I think, you know, there are things that are in it that are just kind of weird, wacky things that you could tell Jason Segel is really passionate about. Like the Dracula musical. Like, that is a funny concept. But at the same time, like, that's just like such a weird, wacky thing that I love. I love the concept of a Dracula musical.
Big fan of it, yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Now that you kind of mentioned it, it is really interesting because in my head, without like deciding to talk about it for the show, I just like bucketize these together. Like they're from the same era of comedy, but like their approach to being a comedy, I think, is very, very different in interesting ways, which is essentially what you're getting at. And that's really cool. Sure. I don't know. My brain just didn't process it. It's just like, hey, these movies are both funny. Huh.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like they make a lot of the same jokes, right? Like they do funny sex scenes, they do like weird relationship things, they do like people being sad and like depressed, but they do them in very different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, and it's also like, you know, kind of what they're getting at is both important because both on the premise, the serious premise, if you can have it for both these, like dealing with a breakup, you know, and forgetting Sarah Marshall and kind of what that is like and like going through the absurdity of it. And then like also in Hot Tub Time Machine, you're dealing with a breakup, you're dealing with midlife crisis and like kind of like what it means. Like they're both dealing with these like kind of what it means to like go through a very mundane or what people view as mundane, but it's also people view it very seriously. Like when you get broken up with, it sucks. Even though it is like a mundane thing that happens to people every day, but they're both exploring it in these like very wacky, over the top ways. And I just think it's fun. I like it's very interesting that the subject of comedy in the like late 2000s, early 2010s, like the breakup kind of sex and stuff, it was selling a lot and it was really speaking to a lot of people. They really were just like down in the dumps, but wanted to laugh at the stupid things that happen or that we do about it.
Yeah, it's like I feel like the target of both these movies is like people are sad and it's funny when they try to not be sad because they are sad.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
I think it's interesting how they ostensibly draw two very different conclusions about what it means to be the sad person. You know, the approaches to Jason Segel's character Peter trying to get his life back on track, and Robert Williams or Rob and his character Lou. They're both, well, I guess, and John Cusack's technically the one that gets broken up with, so his character as well. His character Adam. Like Adam and Lou are like unabashedly not great people.
No,
and so is Peter in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. But I think the movies treat that fact about them very differently.
Yeah.
Like Forgetting Sarah Marshall is like Hot Tub Time Machine is using it as a joke. Forgetting Sarah Marshall is still going to make you laugh at it, but is almost a little bit more judgmental about it. It's really interesting.
I think Forgetting Sarah Marshall does this thing too, where it's like at the beginning you just feel sad for him. Like you see it, and you like the way that he is like clearly depressed, like not doing anything with his life and with his time. Like they show you that at the beginning, but I think they don't like try to make you realize that Peter is a like bad, selfish person who like can't take care of himself or like do any of that. They don't try to like show you that and teach you that until partway through the movie when you've like had time to get to know him and feel bad for him. And so like the function of it is very different. Like they want you to take that away as a lesson rather than just like these like they're bad people as a plot point, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we are introduced to Lou and Adam essentially like being bad people just like straight up from the get-go. Like Lou is like a actual brash asshole. Adam is like distant and disassociative with the people who were like his lifelong friends. Like it's very upfront with the character traits that are negative, where Sarah Marshall, like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, endears you to it a little bit more and then lets the other shoe drop and is like, oh wait, like he's been doing a lot of this to himself, you know? So they're it alludes to and tries to show the audience some ways, but doesn't say it explicitly till like 3/4 of the way through the runtime or 2/3.
Yeah. I do have a question for y'all in regards to these two. I think it's very interesting, especially that these two are up against each other. The drop back of a vacation. What does that like add? Obviously, it's the vacation bracket. Why did these two comedies like drop back a very specific like vacation is the drop back is the setting here? For these two events. Obviously, you know, in Hot Tub, it's the ski resort, like vacation, like they're out to party. It's like fucking magical time. And then Forgetting Sarah Marshall goes to a resort, goes to somewhere they're not familiar and all that stuff. Like what is the drop back like of a vacation add to these two movies? And what is it? How are we comparing them?
Well, so what I think is interesting about these movies is Hot Tub Time Machine, they like go on this vacation and the vacation changes them, right? Like they come to these realizations. They like change the way they live their lives, like all that kind of thing. Right. And I mean, later on, we have to get into the logistics of like what happens when they return from the past and don't know anything about their new lives. Like, OK, they're married and they got this stuff going on. But like, what the fuck is going on? They don't know anything that happened. I think meanwhile, forgetting Sarah Marshall, like he goes on vacation and he like experiences new things on vacation and is affected by them. But he doesn't like change until he goes home. Like the montage at the end of him like being sat on the couch and then like trying to write again, making music again, like finishing his musical. Like that happens when he gets home. Like he doesn't have that same realization. I think there's like a moment of it when he like gets the picture back of like, I'm going to do something for someone else because I want to. And I think that is a very key moment versus, you know, like the rest of the movie where he is being pulled along by other people kind of thing. But I think it's like very key in Forgetting Sarah Marshall that the vacation gets him to that point of wanting to change, but he doesn't change on the vacation, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. But
it does make sense. Like, it's interesting that it took for him being separated basically from the problem, like really separated to almost get closer to it, is kind of what they're trying to say. Because in a way, him trying to separate from himself and get out of his routine of being at home put him way closer, because obviously she ended up there and all these shenanigans. Closer. Yeah, physically closer. But like, you know, like it's playing on that. I guess same with Hot Tub Time Machine. You can't get farther away or closer than 1986 when all these things happened in time travel. But yeah. Well, Matthew, what do you think? Yeah.
I think what's really interesting about it is, hey guys, successful vacation movie choices, because I do think the act of this taking place during a vacation is like instrumental in what both of these movies are trying to do. On one hand, Hot Tub Time Machine, like there is this element that I think is almost really interesting about the, like, they could have done anything with this idea of time traveling back to your life and like living, I don't know. But opting to set it to a vacation that the characters reminisce about, I think is a really interesting choice.
Absolutely.
People have this tendency to like fixate on specific events in their past as having defined their character in ways that like is just not generally true for real people. Like these three guys' lives weren't defined by this vacation. They just choose to think that it is. So it's like this act of challenging that approach. And it's like, no, it's actually just like this like internal idea of, you know, reframing how you want to live your life. You know, it's not the fact that you didn't get beat up by the communist hating ski patrol. Like that's not what's going to like change the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's you taking a stand that like, I want to be different.
Yeah.
Which I think is, you know, it just like challenges sort of the romantic idea of like, I don't know.
There's one moment, like if I could change just one moment, like it's really, 100%.
I like to think the entire reason their lives are different than at the end of the movie than they were at the beginning is because Lou decides to stay back and is like, hey, you should date this girl, or like, hey, you should do this. No, and like he just totally guides them.
Which I want to talk on the Sarah Marshall being sent on a vacation, but we have to talk about the ending of Hot Tub Time Machine a little bit, because that is like a literal nightmare.
Yeah.
I would have lived the shitty version of my life for 20 years instead of the awesome version of my life for 20 years. I instead have to like share my life with people I essentially barely know because they've been on a different path for 20 years, 20 different years of human history. That seems awful. Oh God. Yeah, why did you do this, Lou?
Because he's a selfish bitch and he wanted to create Google.
Google, sorry.
Google, my bad. Not sponsored, by the way.
Which, like, dude, why did they have to? Why did they have to go back?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, like they literally could have just stayed. They could have just stayed.
I mean, the one guy.
Yeah, the nephew had to go back.
Yeah, he had to go back. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been here.
Yeah, right. That's true. He has to go back, and he would just time travel jump and all of a sudden be living under his billionaire father.
Yeah.
But the other guys, they could have like guided their own lives. So like, what happens to the spirit that was inhabiting that body? You know, like John Cusack jumps forward in time with the one that's been happily married to April for 20 years, and all of a sudden that one's just like goes to hell.
He actually gets a hot tub of his own, and then it like it's the whole thing.
He's gonna go back in time and kill Lou.
Yeah. Anyway, do you guys want to start a movie franchise with Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd? It was hilarious. Yeah, it's just interesting. It's so great that these two movies are here, and I do think they are good vacation movies. Like I think like the vacation matters. I think it's an interesting, in a weird way. Like it's not like highbrow intellectual shit going on here, but it's fun shit going on, and I think
I think at its heart, the act of setting it during a vacation was an intentional choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is something that, like, gotta respect.
I think for Hot Tub Time Machine, I think you nailed it on the head where it was like the vacation symbolized like reminiscing or like memory and all that stuff. We hold those meanings we hold those moments very high, like in our lives, thinking about vacations, thinking about big events that we went to. But in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, it was about escape, and vacations being the source of like whenever we go on vacation, we're supposed to be as far away from our problems as possible. But kind of turning that on our head and being like, literally, that was the one decision you shouldn't have made because your problems are literally all right there in your face. But also it ended up being you have to confront them. So it's like, it's very interesting dealing with vacations as like a form of escape and a form of memory and like holding those two together. And I think it's fun. It's interesting.
Yeah.
The question is which one did it better, and I feel like maybe we got to vote here soon.
We are at time, so
that's hard. I really don't know.
This is tough. I think both these movies are so fun, and I think they both do Vacation well. And I don't think you could have either of these movies without Vacation.
Does anyone want to go first?
I think that I want to vote for Sarah Marshall. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I think both of these movies are good. I think they both do a good job dealing with vacation. I feel like I like the jokes made about vacations. Like you got the honeymoon, you've got like the surf instructor. I feel like I like the vacation jokes in Sarah Marshall more than the jokes in Hot Tub Time Machine in terms of vacation. So I'm going to vote for Sarah Marshall.
I actually used to... I got a memory upon rewatching this movie. You know how I always have those sayings that I can't remember where they come from and all sometimes? Yeah. One of them is in Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Do you guys want to say it? It's Great White Buffalo. And I totally, like, upon hearing, I was like, oh my God, one of the things I say is from the 2010 comedy movie about Hot Tub Time Machine. I love my life. I love my brain. I love what it sticks with. I love it so much. I gotta vote for Hot Tub Time Machine, so it will not be my Great White Buffalo. Wow. Amazing. And genuinely amazing.
Conversely, the fact that Jake yet again has lied to me for years.
I forget.
I couldn't let him get away with another Surf's Up.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna vote for Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
That's good. Look, I genuinely, both of these were very fun picks. I'm more than happy with it. As long as I got to pitch Hot Tub Time Machine in a bracket, I'm having a good time.
Hey, and we both enjoyed it. You pitched Hot Tub Time Machine, and we both had a good time and thought it fit in the bracket. Isn't that amazing?
It was a risky pick. I was excited for it. I was
like, are we about to have another dodgeball on our hands?
Hey, shut up! Hey. Hey, Dodgeball and Mouse Hunt were perfect for the brackets they were in.
They were in those brackets.
That's true, and we can't change that. With that,
yeah, same for the fucking musicals. Don't get me started.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall advances, and we've got one more matchup today.
Yeah. God, the most similar movies on this list.
I know. I guess I will. Tu Mama Tambien, released in 2001, directed by Alfonso Cuarón. This movie follows two Mexican teenagers from very different social classes as they road trip to a beach they made up with a woman that is dying of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
and there are lots of revelations about the nature of their relationship, the nature of their futures, their friendship, and plenty of sex. This movie, there's a lot of sex in it. You could say, in many ways, it's centrally about sex. Why did I pick this movie? I agonized a lot over what I was going to pick for this bracket, and struck by divine inspiration, I was like, I feel like I'm never going to get the chance to put this movie in a bracket. And I have to go for it. I think that this is a very special movie. It's one that I like a lot. And I think it has a lot to say through the lens of teenage revelry, in a whole lot else. And it's a movie that has just kind of stuck with me since I first saw it. I think the cinematography is really interesting. I think its approach with cutting to silence and having a narrator step in is very strange, and I like it a lot. It's a very cool movie to me. With that, Jake, what did you think of this one?
Sex sells, baby. We're back.
And a young Diego Luna.
The mom from The Flash. Yeah, if you didn't know that, that's Luisa's the mom from The Flash. Anyway.
The new one?
The new one. Yeah. Get fucked, everybody, thinking about this movie anymore. Look, what's a good vacation without some good old sexual awakenings and sexual liberation?
What's a good vacation without the mom from The Flash?
For sure. Her and Jason Segel just won't leave me alone.
Yeah. Jason Segel was also the mom from The Flash, but it was in another timeline.
Hey, you know what though, guys? Aren't we all?
Nice. That's big if true. Anyway. Look, this is a movie. This is a special little movie. I like. It's just a good. I just think it's a good movie. It's just a good movie. Love that you picked it as a vacation pick. That's very fun. I love the energy. Like I said, just something about this is a very sexy pick, and I think vacation movies, as we saw in Hot Tub Time Machine for Getting Sarah Marshall, vacations are sexy times. So I'm on board. Obviously there's more to say about it, but I'm on board.
Absolutely. Well, they go on a vacation.
Yeah, they do.
They do go on a vacation.
Each other's bodies.
Alex, what did you think of this one?
Were you crossing your fingers when you asked me that?
Huh?
I like this movie.
Pop.
No.
I was a little bit worried you wouldn't.
No, I liked it. I think there were... Okay, let me preface this by the context in which I watched this movie.
Horny out of your mind.
I watched this movie, downloaded on my iPad, on an airplane.
No, did you say an airplane?
On an airplane, next to a stranger.
Oh my god!
So, let me tell you.
So you watched it as Corona intended. You watched it as Alfonso imaged in his head. There is no greater experience than that.
Let me tell you. This movie is significantly less sexy when you're next to a man who could be my father.
Hell yeah.
Maybe he's a huge fan and he's like, damn, this guy's got good taste in film.
I mean, he was watching.
Whoa! I can think of no more cursed way to watch this film. There are always those movies where the person next to you on an airplane's watching it and you're kind of side-eyeing it the whole time.
Yeah.
Just curious about what they're seeing.
I've been the person in the row behind, diagonally across the aisle, watching the movie in front of me,
Yeah.
Yeah. Being that guy watching this movie, I'd be like, what is in it?
Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm so sorry.
That's awesome.
Because I didn't know what this movie was going to be when I started watching it. I
mean, the name gives it away.
Yeah, it does. It sure does.
And your mother too?
Yeah, it definitely gives it away. I still enjoyed it though. I had a good time, despite being incredibly uncomfortable the entire time watching it.
Look, it's hard to be like
committed.
Yeah,
I only had so much time. I was flying to a wedding. Like we were recording over at the end of the weekend. I had to watch this movie. You know.
Now that's commitment.
Yeah.
I think when I got to, I don't know at what point I would call it too much, because like it opens with a sex scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was oh, that's fine. Like, it's just the opening of the movie. Like, it'll get better. And then there's the scene of them just, like, jerking off in the pool. Yeah. You know? There's, like, all the... There's a lot.
Yeah, it is. There... Yeah. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, I mean, this is a great movie. And it's going up against an equally great movie.
Equally erotic movie. Uh-huh.
Equally erotic, equally great. That's right. You guessed it. Cheaper by the Dozen 2, released in 2005, directed by Adam Shankman. Tom Baker's back. He and his wife and their 12 kids, the Dirty Dozen, go back up to the lake house where they used to go when they were younger. And wouldn't you know it, Steve Martin's childhood rival is there, and he's played by Eugene Levy, and he's super rich. He owns the whole lake, and he's got wealthy, successful children, but they're too stressy and things go bad. They get into a family spit spat and start competing and ruin the lives of their children until it gets better and one of them has a baby.
One of the children has a baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
Superman's in this.
Yeah, Superman's in this.
Speaking of like DC. So it's the Flash mom versus Superman.
I think Flash's mom takes
canonically
she did
the
Flash
Superman.
The mom. What?
Canonically, it's the Superman that doesn't have a belly button. If that is a helpful reference to it. Yeah, he doesn't have a belly button. That's like the weird.
Don't fuck Matthew up here. Don't fuck him up.
Matt,
you fucked him way up.
I remember the ads for Smallville on TV were like, "Why doesn't he have a belly button? Where's Clark's belly button?" And it's because he's Superman.
Huh. Anyway. Cheaper by the Dozen 2.
Yeah, I picked this movie because Marina loves Cheaper by the Dozen, and I was like, this one has a vacation in it.
Does she love this one too?
Yeah. We watched it. I mean, we watched it for the podcast, but we talked about watching it like a week before we decided this theme for the bracket.
That's crazy.
Fantastic.
I mean, I think this one's really fun. I think it is thematically not incredibly deep.
What?
But I think it's very fun. I think it's a classic kids vacation movie. You know, like when I think of a summer vacation, this is the type of movie that I think of, you know? I think it's very fascinating that both of these movies deal with like summer vacation before your life changes. And they do it in two very different ways. But Jake, what do you think about this one?
I mean, so unfortunately, I had the experience of being on an airplane and watching
and being next to someone next to someone watching porn.
Yeah. The guy next to me was watching Tu Mama Tambien. I looked at him and I'm like, I could be this guy's dad. I can't believe he's watching this next to me.
And then we swapped iPads so that it was fine. You know, this was the movie that I always think Cheaper by the Dozen is. Like, just in general. This is always the first one I think of. And I get it mixed up all the time. Yeah, this movie had me feeling little things when I was a little kid and being like, oh, I want to, fall in love at the little lake, I wanted to be rich. I wanted to be rich.
Matt's
and I
can't relate because
I wanted to fall in love. Well, I wanted a rich lady to fall in love with me because we're both, competitive and we're figuring it all out. You know what I mean? This is a sweet little what?
You want to fall in love with little Taylor Lautner?
No,
come take you away.
You want a little Taylor Lautner to turn into a wolf and take you away?
I only want him if he's.
Wait, do you want him to be a wolf or a shark? A wolf or a shark?
Shark boy. Go to sleep, but what's the song he sings?
Yeah, I don't know, but he fucking it's a good scene.
Yeah, look, I also like the idea of like, you know, camp as a like, you know, as like a thing, and like competing and all that. Like, it's a very
We should do a summer camp bracket.
Wet Hot American Summer is my pick. 100%.
Ooh, that's a good pick. We could have done that.
We could have done that
bracket.
Well, gotta wait till next year.
Wait, you guys know Christmas in July? Maybe we do summer in
winter
in December.
Yeah, but isn't that just called being on the other hemisphere?
Australians won't say it's true. I don't know. Yeah, so what? Who else needed to talk about cheaper?
I can go. It's me.
Thank you. Spare me.
Yeah. So I don't remember how I reacted to the first Cheaper by the Dozen.
Hot.
But I like this one better.
Really? Hey, hell yeah!
This one is. I think this is the best one.
I think that Eugene Levy is just. I've never seen this movie before.
Mm-hmm.
And Eugene Levy I just thought he was really fun.
He's so funny.
Eugene Levy's
really,
just a
he really
gift.
is. Like, wow. He's wow. And it was so funny that Taylor Lautner was his son.
They look practically the same. It's in the
eyebrows. They're dead ringers. They should have cast him in Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not him in Schitt's Creek? Who is it? Who is it?
Yeah. And I, to your guys' credit, this idea of like the childhood vacation.
Yeah.
This does hit that mark. Except
like
if my dad was acting like this on my childhood vacation, I'd be like, Dad.
You'd be like, I'm gonna call the nanny to pick me up because I'm a little rich boy.
You're like, Father.
I think so. Here's my thing about this movie, and I do agree with you, Matt. I think it's better than the first one.
Nice.
I think the first one tries really hard to be more than just a kids movie. I feel like this one doesn't. This movie, this movie knows that it's like a cheesy, like summer blockbuster kids movie, and that's all it tries to be, and it does a great job.
See, that's how I felt about you, Tu Mama Tambien. I couldn't even finish the sentence. I couldn't even. It's a beautiful coming of age story.
It's a beautiful coming.
Yeah, it puts the coming of age story.
Oh my god! Why has nothing marketed itself that way?
Dude, it probably has, but it probably went straight to DVD. Like, you know, it's
like. Anyway, talking about these two movies, wild that they're up against each other. Essentially, what you're getting at, this idea of like a movie that has realized it should be for children, versus a movie that is like centrally about class conflict, personal growth, and sexual exploration, are pretty tonally at odds. It's the weirdest thing. But weirdly enough, canonically, both movies have people that do be fucking.
They do be fucking.
They do be fucking.
Yeah, they do be fucking. They have, you know, the talk. It's really great. Yep.
And low-key, I think Eugene Levy would raise the toilet with his foot if he was at the dirty, stinky cabin.
I think he would hold it in.
Ooh.
You might be onto something there.
You know?
It's so, look, we could have prepped all day, night, week, month to try to compare these two movies. It's the thing, you know, we truly could have. I think you could, you know, we can make the obvious. There is fucking, either behind the scenes or not.
We already did.
There's a lot. Exactly.
We already did.
Exactly.
That's the one point of comparison I had.
There's also this thing about. Okay, yeah, you go for it.
I have a real one. I
was gonna
you go.
Throw shit at a wall.
No, I got a real thing.
Yeah, you take your real thing.
Okay.
It's in your pocket, Jake.
Cheaper by the Dozen 2. The movie starts, and then they're on vacation. Tu Mama Tambien. The movie starts, and then they go on vacation, and they're in a car driving to the beach, and then they're on the beach. And the whole thing is the vacation, but like, it's all stressful until they get there. Thoughts on that? The journey versus the destination? What do we have? What is there here? I feel like there's something to be said for Cheaper by the Dozen, and maybe it's because they had a small budget and just had to be at this house on the lake and couldn't film them driving up the road to the lake.
Yeah, they had to pay all those kids.
They had to pay all those kids. Have you ever tried to put a bunch of kids in a car for an extended period of time? No, thank you.
Why would I ever be in that scenario?
Jake, I don't know your life.
I hate it here, man.
In the car with all those kids. I can see them behind you.
Right. Jesus. I don't think I had something that directly answered your question.
Hey, no, throw some shit at the wall. Let's see what happens.
Well, I was talking about this whole idea of like, we do have adults in this movie, or in both these movies, right? And like kind of like how they affect their hormonal companions. Obviously for Cheaper by the Dozen, I'm cutting off like half of them, right? I'm not talking about the little kids at this point. I'm talking about the ones who are older.
Basically, the littlest kids don't get any kind of arc.
Good. Fuck them.
They
I would argue,
try and minimize how much they can talk.
Go stop some muggers in New York.
Only one of the kids, only two of the kids have an arc. Yeah. I would argue that. Three of them.
One has a baby. That's
one has a baby.
Like a character arc.
No, I do think she has a character arc because it's like, I mean, it serves to, her character arc is to highlight Steve Martin.
More people should have got him pregnant in Tu Mama Tambien, but
they might be.
They might be. That's true.
Hey, we'll never know.
Okay, but the fact that they're like traveling with this like adult in that movie and kind of forming around this adult and in Cheaper by the Dozen too. Again, this is a stretch. Stay with me. They're forming around these like two adults, these two patriarchs who are just being competitive and being crazy, and they're trying to grow. They have like a bunch of kids who are trying to grow and make these decisions. It's interesting to see how two movies, obviously this isn't necessarily what they're both about, but like how subliminally like adults really shape like our hormonal fate, like the people we're surrounding ourselves with in these stages of life really form like how we handle these more intense like situations. You know what I mean?
I think you're definitely onto something.
Thank God.
Insofar as like how these movies approach, one, are sort of guided by, and two, approach this idea of like an adult. It is very clear that like the nature of adulthood gives you some kind of like inherent respect to younger people. And I think these movies have very different things to say about what that means. And ultimately, I think Cheaper by the Dozen, like, too, tries to reflect that differently between Eugene Levy and Steve Martin's characters. That, like, just because you are someone's parent, you know, doesn't mean, like, X, Y, and Z. Like, you
I mean, they go back to being little children, kids.
You know? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's, you know, their regression in it. And then Tu Mama Tambien, so much of what happens in the plot is inherent, like, it is set up that they're essentially like taking advantage of Louisa in some way, you know, like they're like, oh, we're going to have sex with her and it's going to be awesome. But in reality, much of what happens is driven by her choices. I it's not a fully formed thought, but I think it's an interesting point of comparison of like how these movies approach their adults.
Thanks, man. I really tried.
Well, I was saying my thought's not fully formed. Yours is a good, like, it's a good topic of conversation.
Thanks, man.
I think that's a really good point that Matt brings up.
No,
I think this is a good topic of conversation, the way that adults affect younger lives, you know?
I mean, even talking about, like, in the vacation lens, too. Like, adults are part of that and how they respond to vacations when they're in charge, quotes, I say, like, of kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's fascinating to think about. So here's my question about Tu Mama Tambien, because I think there are things that went over my head, partially because of my lack of historical context, and partially because I was on an airplane and maybe didn't hear all the words. Although I guess I was reading the subtitles, so that doesn't necessarily matter. I guess I don't fully understand is how the historical context and the way that the movie highlights things going on around them. Like, I don't necessarily fully understand the context and why, like, what that highlights in their story.
So there is, as it is clear by the form the film takes, with the narrator stepping in to talk about, like, things that have yet to happen and things that have happened in the past, including, like, Tenoch's family being not just rich, but politically connected. There is a lot of historic context to try and explain in what is a very short amount of time we have here. But essentially, the film is set during the, 60, 70 years that the PRI, the Institutional Revolutionary Party, had just been elected president for basically ever. There was a ton of concentrated political power amongst the same people for a really long time, thus leading to, like, insane exacerbation of the, like, pre-existing wealth disparity in Mexico. And this idea of, like, moving into a new age is not just talking about the characters, but there's also, like, a national level to it. Because they literally end the film with what they talk about the party that Tenoch's father is from, like, lost for the first time, which happened in reality. It was a big thing because the PAN, the National Action Party, won for the first time and, like, made, like, a real upset to things in the Mexican political sphere. Is, I think, in a lot of ways meant to parallel Tenoch and Julio's relationships insofar as their wealth disparity goes, but then also, like, this crossing of boundaries that physically occurs, but also emotionally occurs, and then proceeds to immediately recede as if they're not meant to be part of this world together. As you get to, like, modern contexts of Mexican socioeconomic things and political status, the crossing of lines in that way didn't solve the problem, essentially. So, like, that is a crazy short summary of some of the historic context. The movie gets much deeper about, like, why all of that matters and what it's trying to say about all of it. This movie was the highest grossing film in Mexico for a really long time. There's just so much wild context that I wish I could communicate as quickly as possible. I totally understand why you wouldn't have all of that going
We definitely encourage, like, our audience, like, if it did go over your head, like, it's a really interesting movie to look into the politics of it all. Like, it's just a really rich film. Like, it does a really good job. There's a reason why it was the number one grossing, still up there. Like, it is a very, very well made film, as well as sexy, you know.
So follow-up question.
They could be both.
Follow-up question. Similarly, how do you think Cheaper by the Dozen handles those same Mexican politics with, you know, Eugene Levy is the, you know, this rich character, lots of power, has had power for many years in the lake. Tom Baker shows up and is like, hey, like, we're going to fix this lake house. Like, we're going to make things better. And then they get into this competition and then they have sex in the end.
Yeah.
Well, I do think,
And there's a beautiful baby to symbolize the connection. It comes to a very different conclusion about those Mexican politics, right?
It really does. And what I think is upsetting about it is, like, I understand how, like, the union of it is meant to be, like, the conservative, like, social politics of it merging with sort of these neoliberal economic policies, which is essentially what the PAN, or the National Action Party, is about. You know, it's kind of like a right-wing populism mixed with neoliberal economics. Them coming to the conclusion that it was ultimately good for Mexico, aka there's a baby, really fucked up.
I don't know. It's fascinating. It's bold.
Well, I think the
honestly
key
is.
And that's why Cheaper by the Dozen, too, was the highest grossing rated.
Oh, my God.
I'm ready to vote.
Yeah, and in 3 out of the 35 or whatever Mexican states, Cheaper by the Dozen 2 is the highest grossing film.
And those are the ones that love Eugene Levy. And are they wrong?
He has a lot to say. Anyway, yeah, I can vote.
Go for it. Kick us off.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna vote for Tu Mama Tambien.
Fucking stupid ass bitch.
Well, okay. Look, Matt, I can't fault you. But I have to vote for Cheaper by the Dozen too, because if I don't, I have to sleep on the couch.
Oh.
But if you sleep on the couch, you can rewatch Tu Mama Tambien.
Ooh, and there won't be a man on an airplane next to me this time.
till you look out and you hear and there's a guy squeegeeing your windows clean.
In the middle of the night, it's the same guy. You could be my dad.
He just wants you to watch something more age appropriate, like Cheaper by the Dozen 2.
Yeah. If there was a sex scene in Cheaper by the Dozen 2, maybe it would have got my vote. But
they're almost like 3, right?
Almost, but come on.
They never go all the way.
Yeah, Tu Mama Tambien's getting my vote here as well.
What a surprise.
If Taylor Lautner wasn't just a white dude and everyone thinks he has some ethnicity about him, then maybe he would get my vote here, but he's just a white dude.
If Steve Martin and Eugene Levy had explored each other's bodies in that movie.
100%. Dude, 100%. Are you kidding me? That's a vacation. That is a vacation.
Judgmental looks from the other moviegoers, emblematic of the early 2000s.
Damn, that
we should have been cheering. Anyway, Tu Mama Tambien advances, so it'll be Tu Mama Tambien versus Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Same movie again. Oh my god, we're fucked.
Get your thinking hats on. But next week, we've got the other half of this bracket where it's going to be Total Recall versus Just Go With It.
Let's go!
And then Goofy Movie versus The One I Love. This bracket is
the second half
so dumb.
The second half of this bracket is fucked.
The second half is so hard. It goes so fucking stupid.
Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be so good. And if you want to hear about those episodes right when they come out, I mean, we release on a regular schedule, so you should just know. But you can follow us on social media at Tough Cut Pod. We're on all of your favorites. Get the episodes downloaded straight to your phone by subscribing to our show on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. I don't know. Enough. Yeah, I don't know. And what else do I say? Enough. That's it.
We're done.
I'm cutting you off.
Who should they share this one with?
Someone who looks like they could be your father.